Hello,
Hello.
everybody. Welcome to Breaking PSYCHles. We are here with Mr. Siegel and Miss Hutchison. I met them at the Episcopal Academy, which is the high school that I attended from 2009 to 2013. And Miss Hutchison was my ceramics teacher, and Mr. Siegel was my general art, what was that? Foundations art teacher. These are my two favorite artists and two of my inspirations in life, and they are here today to talk about Thanksgiving. That's the name of this episode. Thanksgiving. I don't know why I picked that title, but I guess because I'm just grateful to have these people in my life. And they are part of the reason why I even do photography or any of this stuff that I'm doing, because they saw something in me that I didn't even know existed in me. And since then, it's just been a great bond that we have, and I'm just excited to have them on the show today. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, right into it. Y'all know how I get down. Just right to the point. Do you guys remember first meeting me, or some of our first encounters? What you thought? Was I just blending in? Did I stand out? What are your first memories that you have?
That you were very shy and very quiet and reserved, and then exploded later, of course. I think because you took foundations with all the art teachers, so I remember you from 3D design. I think you wore your coat a lot.
I really did. I still do.
Did you blend in? No.
Okay.
I don't think, the great thing about our school is it's small enough that there are a lot of individuals that are very small classes, so nobody blends in.
Yeah.
I think they all think they do, but Hillary and I have been teaching for a while, and we kind of see everybody for who they are.
Gotcha.
And we always have to kind of figure out how we're going to approach that and how we're going to get what we can out of them and how they can figure out who they are as creative people. So yeah, my first interaction with you was okay, here she's quiet, and I want to see what she can do and what she's willing to do and how I can help her be confident about being an artist and being a creative person. So it was a challenge, but I outweighed you.
Okay, now I think it's time for the Mr. Siegel story because
So soon?
yeah, so soon, because this is a thing that stuck in my head. It just popped into my head one day, and then it stuck into my head because I didn't realize that it happened until later on, once I graduated. So I remember going into your class, and you had this display, and it was all these boxes, and I think it was food or something, and you were telling us that we were going to draw that thing, and I was in my head, I'm not drawing that. That's not going to happen. So you were walking around just kind of introducing yourself to everybody and hey, how you doing? Are you ready to get started? Da, da, da. And you came up to me, and basically you were so are you ready to do this? And I'm I can't do that. I'm not going to be able to draw that. And you were your face was just why would you say that? Why are you saying that you can't do that? I'm I know I can. I'm factually, I cannot draw. This is not going to happen. And you were okay, we'll see. Just start. I'm going to give you some of these tools that you're going to need to use. And once you get started, I guarantee you're going to be able to draw the picture. By the end of the semester, I looked at the picture, and I somehow, some way, with all the tools that you gave me, the picture came out pretty good. And that was something that really stuck out in my head, because it was I already came to the table thinking that I couldn't do something. And it was just because I hadn't been exposed to the tools necessary to know how to do it. And then once I did it, it was oh, I'm really an artist. I can do this. So that's the Mr. Siegel story that I tell people all the time.
Would you like to hear my side?
Sure. I know it's probably completely different.
No, it's very similar.
Okay.
I could actually read your thought bubble. I know what you were thinking.
I wear it on my face.
Oh my
gosh,
yeah.
It's bad.
You were very quiet, but you definitely were yeah, okay, I can't wait for him to walk away, because I can then not do this.
Yeah.
But I remember you coming up to you several times and checking on you and saying, trust your vanishing points and figure where things are and use proportion and you can do this and keep going. And you were so quiet, it almost you inhaled every time I walked over. But again, like you said, the same experience happened. Then all of a sudden, you did exhale, and you took great pride in what you were able to accomplish.
Yeah. People did I tell you that people told me they thought I was mute my freshman year?
What?
No.
I'm like,
You were.
I was not that quiet.
No.
It's impossible. But people said like, no, Naja, like you really didn't talk unless somebody talked to you.
No.
And then I looked back and I was like, it kind of was like that. But I was in a culture shock. Like, the conversations that were going on, everything that was going on, the fact that I was
always having your coat on felt protective, probably.
It did, but I didn't know. I'm
was-
also very cold too. Like, I'm
Right.
also a very cold person, so you rarely hear me talking about like being hot. But I think that it was unconsciously like a cloak to like protect me from like just being open.
Right.
Because I didn't know how to do that, and especially being around people who just had different perspectives on life, I had to like figure out how to adjust my life to that life. I was just assessing everything. I had a Miss Hutchinson story too, but it was like more along the lines of your classroom being a safe place. Like, I feel like we got closer towards the end of my experience at Episcopal, but your classroom was like our classroom, like me, Nam, Taj, like all the people who didn't know that they were artists, who were like finding out that they were artists. We all just hung out there like after hours too. I don't know if you knew that, but we were there after hours into the bus. It's like a safe place, and I really did love ceramics. I didn't even like. We were just talking about this last night. Like, I'm like, we wouldn't have even thought to do this kind of stuff if we didn't go to Episcopal. So, shout out to Episcopal. During that time, do you feel like Episcopal was diverse? Because from my perspective, when I first got there, it was like I was brainwashed to think it was diverse because it was like, oh, there's like splashes of color here. But it really wasn't, to me, that diverse. Like, in my grade, we had, 6 black kids, like 2 Asians, and then white people.
Yeah.
So,
No, it's not. And it's not today either.
yeah.
But, and also, I don't think, I mean, if you think about institutions and philosophies and what you're putting out there as a school, I mean, is it really, unless it's diversity that you were saying, you're still making a cultural little microcosm in the bigger world.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so is it diverse? No.
The energy there was not like exclusive. It was like, I can't really describe it because Episcopal was its own like city, like its own
Machine.
Yeah.
And everybody has problems, and I mean, money doesn't necessarily take that out of the equation. That you're not going to have adversity, or that you're not going to have crisis, or not be able to deal with a crisis for that matter.
True.
We're all human, and we all come to the table with like you said, we don't always know other situations. And the question that you might be struggling with, is that important that everybody knows everybody's struggle? And I think in many ways it is important, right?
Yeah.
So there has to be an empathy to interacting with people. But at the same time, there's that welcomeness with meeting you for the first time and meeting you where you are, which is right here, right now. And we talk a lot about that. It's like meeting people where they are right now. And then as the relationships grow and as the education grows between those two people and the intimacy grows between those two people, then that's when you can share those things, and that's where growth can happen. And where's the line of what do we share, what do we need to express, and how do we deal with people? And
that's true.
And I think that's I think that's where, Hillary and I try to be as honest and open as possible. We don't know everything.
Yeah.
We come from a certain lens.
Yeah.
We come from a certain place, and we try to do that.
Yeah.
As best we can.
You two have always given me that vibe. Like, you definitely met me where I was. Like, you never made me feel like I had to be something. Like, I had that openness there, which I feel like some of my peers did not. And they probably weren't even paying attention to it at the time, because when you're in that position and you're like trying to figure out who you are and like what kind of student you want to be if you're going to go to college. Although I didn't experience any direct like racist anything like that, I did notice once I reflected that there were some people who used me as a tool to like get information about other black students, not like in a prying or like personal type of way, but more like using me as a reference. I can't really describe it, but like they would be like, people would be like, oh, so is everything okay with such and such? And I'm like, you could ask them. Like, yeah, I wouldn't know the answer, but it's like, ask them. Like, you can ask them. And so that, in that way, it was like,
And you
people
felt
were probably,
they were asking you beyond that you were friends with a certain person?
yeah, it was definitely because I was black.
Okay.
And they felt more comfortable talking to me.
I mean, regardless of you being black or not, but for a 16-year-old to be able to say to an adult, go ask them yourself, is
Yeah.
wonderful.
Thank you. That's how we kind of work in society. Like, if you're close with somebody, you kind of use them to get information about maybe something that you don't know or that you would want to know. Like, for example, me and Zoe have been having a lot of conversations about just different stuff that she was like, I didn't know that you were thinking or feeling that way in those situations. And I was like, of course you wouldn't, because you didn't know that, like, I'm thinking about, oh, am I going to have transportation to get to school tomorrow? And people are thinking about, oh, am I going to get an A or B on this test? I wasn't thinking about that. Like, I'm thinking about, what am I going to eat for dinner? Is my mom okay? Like, are my siblings okay? Like, all types of things that had really nothing to do with my education experience. People can't grasp that when they've never, like, been through those type of things or have to even think about those types of things. And you can't blame them.
Right.
It's just that they have to be connected to people who do know about those things, because then we can share stories and then you can be like, oh, like, I get that. So that's kind of, yeah. From a teacher's perspective, I would say, do you think that you had to operate differently with the groups of minority students versus, like, the native, I would say the native Episcopalian students, because those who went from pre-K to 12th grade, those were, the lifers were completely a different species. Their brains, Episcopal is like, let's just clap it up for Episcopal real quick.
I mean, you know, we're not ignorant. We see differences, we understand differences, and I think as artists and as art teachers, we have the luxury of our pace being different and about working with individuals. We have classes that are full of different age groups, different interest levels, different skill levels. So I think we really work to the individual. I think when we, you know, because we have those individual conversations, I can go up to you and say, what don't you know how to do? Because I think the worst thing a teacher can do is assume that the information I'm talking about is understood. And the beauty of art is that the instant assessment happens. I want you to use linear perspective to draw those milk cartons. Okay, here are the components, here are the rules. What part don't you get? Where can I help build? And I always talk about this a lot. Where's the scaffolding that I can allow you to figure out who you are as a thinker and as a learner? And you, I'm talking about as an individual. And so whoever walks in my room, I treat them as gold, and I'm going to try to work with those individuals.
That's all the art teachers, because every teacher's not like this.
Yeah. No, and I mean, I also, the great thing is, you know, and you can talk about it going into Hillary's classroom, but like going past Hillary's classroom and having kids there after hours or having it always full, the honesty that I think we approach things is really important too.
Definitely.
We don't always know the right answer. We don't always, we're not always going to be right. We're not always going to say the right thing.
Sure.
You know, like we try not to scar children. That's our goal. But
There's more conversation in the
Yeah.
studio also than there is in other classes
Absolutely.
because it's interactive and it's an opportunity for students to interact with each other, for us to have conversations outside of just, you know, teaching the lesson or talking about whatever the project is.
And I think it really is a difference between having those types of art classes, because coming from the cities that we come from, it's very limited artistic expression in the curriculum. And back when I was in elementary school, there were a lot of options. Like, we had music classes and like there would be plays and you could do art and stuff like that. But then as resources started to dwindle, it really just took away from the whole full experience of education, because it's like you go there, you get the curriculum, and then you really don't come out being well-rounded as a person, versus when you go to Episcopal and you get to travel places and do ceramics, do photography and film and things like that. Like, had I not gone to Episcopal, would I be a photographer? Probably not, honestly. Like, I always wanted to be. I got my first camera when I was 13, and I always was like, oh, I'm going to be a photographer, but then like no tools to do that.
I mean, I think art should be the focus of all schools.
I agree.
And because you just talked about earlier, you know, that other luggage that you were carrying around to get to the point where you could actually learn, right?
Yeah.
To get to the point where all that other stuff's out of the way so you can focus on your education. And art is an intellectual pursuit, we always say, and is an emotional
Absolutely.
connection as well. So imagine learning to deal with and to process and to and learn those skills, and I think that happens in art.
I agree. Art is like a therapy for.
And the confidence.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because I would not be doing this YouTube channel, trust me. No, I wouldn't. When you hear the word ghetto, because I got into so many, not arguments, but like debates with people who really wanted me to change the word ghetto in my description of Breaking PSYCHles, creating conversations to help enlighten people about the lifestyle of people from ghetto communities, give or take. A lot of people were telling me to use words like hood or urban, which I felt like was not true to what I was trying to accomplish at all. So when you hear the word ghetto, what do you think of? Because I'm going to read the definition.
Well, I mean, I think that it's sort of, I think of it in an old, I guess a more historical way, but,
Okay.
but yeah, poor, probably predominantly African American community.
Got you.
Yeah, I think it's a neighborhood that has to do with a minority group that is underprivileged and under-resourced.
That's pretty much the definition. Let's pull up Google real quick. Most of the people think that it is like a negative word, which is why my own people are telling me like don't use that word because people aren't going to take to it lightly. And it's like, it's actually a word and it has a meaning. The noun form is a part of a city, especially a slum area, occupied by a minority group or groups. That's like what it's called. So it's actually, I'm saying what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then for the verb form, to put or restrict to an isolated or segregated area or group.
Right.
Which is everything that I really want to say. Like, we have to get people out of the mentality that ghetto means like bad. It just means that it's a place that's. Go ahead, you can.
I feel like people more, you know how like people, they would use ghetto as like, they used it as a bad term, like, oh, these people are ghetto, like they switched it more of like that versus the definition that you're saying, that like ghetto as an overall like the place. But I feel like they started using it against people like, oh, you're a ghetto. Just that's like the other side of it.
People do like say like ghetto is like a way of acting, like, and it's not. That's not what it is at all. Even people say, oh, like stop talking white. What does that mean? Like when I used to go home from Episcopal, they would always be like stop talking white, like why are you talking white? Like, and I would be like as a kid, if I was younger and I was more insecure, which by the grace of God I wasn't, like I would be feeling like what is wrong with me? Like why are they always like attacking me for articulating words or like speaking and using actual words from the dictionary? If they feel like I'm talking white, that means they feel like I'm talking right. That's what it means basically, like you're proper. We have to stop equating goodness with white and like hoodness and badness and ghetto-ness with black, because we have people coming on Breaking PSYCHles who are from the hood and they're not even black. They're white. And it's like you can't assume that because a person comes from a certain background that they have these certain characteristics about them, because it may be true to a degree, but everybody's individual. And the ghetto is like a place. It's not a thing or action or like how you act. So anybody who's watching this who's from the hood, don't let nobody tell you acting ghetto. Ghetto is deeper than just action, and people need to know that. So don't assume that because somebody says ghetto, it's a bad thing. For all those people who are trying to convince me not to use that word, I'm using it because I'm from the ghetto. Sorry. So how do you define wealth? It means so many different things to people, and it's really sad a little bit, I think, coming from the community that I come from, how people view wealth, because it to me is measured by like materialistic things. And like even when I was younger, I didn't know that I thought of wealth in that way, but I kind of did too. Until I got older and started to realize that it's about way more than just what you have. It's about what you give.
I think it's having what you need, having good relationships with people, doing work that you feel good about, getting a good night's sleep.
That's such good points.
Yeah, I mean, having people around you that make you feel good about yourself, that make you want to do good, to be good. I don't know. Being comfortable.
That's very good. You don't. It's not about money. It's not like the world is about money and like getting by and living up to the standards that the world put in front of you is about money. But it's really not. Like, I've been broke my whole life and like I'm really okay. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's never been a time where I had like just eons of money where I can just say, oh, I just want to go and just spend this and spend it. But like, you would think, people think that. Like, people look at me and like, even down to my clothes, they'll say, oh my God, like, where did you get that from? I'm like, the thrift store. Like, it's just about how you carry yourself, because people think I got it and sometimes I don't. And it's like, that's really just all about how you feel on the inside. And it's like, if people focus more on what's going on the inside, the outside stuff wouldn't be as big of a deal. But everything on the outside is what everybody's focused on. Like, I have to have a house. No, you can have a room. Start off with a room, you know. Like, it doesn't have to be that way, but we're just taught to think that it has to be that way.
You also have to have that, but money, unfortunately, if you don't have money, then your health and wealth isn't there. So you can't just say, wealth is about feeling good and having love. Unfortunately, in this world and our society and how it's built,
that's true.
You have to, like you said, comfort. You have to have the comfort. And so if you make a certain amount of money and you don't have to worry about these things, then you get to sleep, and then you get to have that wealth of friendships. Because like you were, again, going back to that whole thought of focusing on education, you have to be wealthy in mind and thought, and healthy in mind and thought to get there. So, like, this is very wealthy.
Yeah, and I feel wealthy. Like, I'm broke. I don't got no money, but I feel rich because, listen, I'm doing things that I want to do. I know it's easier said than done. I feel like people think like I'm crazy because it's like, how are you thinking like that? Like, you're not thinking realistic. And it's like, I am, because my reality is what I make it. That's first and foremost. But I think the reality of most people who come from a lack of financial stability, it's nearly impossible to think about anything other than your financial security, because it's like, you got to make sure you eat. Then it's like, you got to keep up with the trends, and then you got kids and they want to keep up with the trends. You got to make sure that they have haircuts and just the most right soap and like toothpaste, which is so expensive to me. Like, I'm about to start making my own. Like, this whole world is about consumption. It's just, people we also aren't trained, and we don't even have the conversations to think like about mental health. I know that a lot of people where I come from experience a lot of different hardships outside of like financial hardship, where it's like family loss or like something traumatic happened in the family. Have you guys ever experienced anything that was like just shook you with like personally in your family? I love how they look at each other. That's what you call real love.
Yes and no. I have one sister, so she had an eating disorder, and that just creates a lot of family tension in addition to her, her health, and divorce. And we have relatives who have struggled with illness and addiction and
like those sorts of things.
But
I couldn't say because I got upset, but I can say no. So I have a brother who's still alive, who got into drugs and was in rehab and left rehab, and my father and I found him on the street, dragged his ass in the car and dropped him off. But you can't do that. He has to take care of himself. And I can remember thinking the same thing, that I have no recollection of dates or times or how old I was when I did that. But the reality is, the brain is funny in how it filters things through, and what you actually remember and what you don't, or how you personally felt when you do that. Like, you can never, the great thing about the body is that you can remember that something was painful, but you'll never be able to actually bring that pain, that physical pain back. But I think they've all shaped us.
Definitely.
Right? I am the teacher I am today because of that experience.
Factual. Everything that happens in your life is intentional, and it does shape who you are. Because would I be able to assess information the way that I do now? Would I have been interested in psychology? Would I have been the person that I am? No, I know I wouldn't have been, because I would have been in the streets, like doing the same things that I saw some people doing that I knew were wrong. So it did save me, and that's life. Just saves you without you even knowing that it's saving you by just happening to you. It's like, so I know that we experienced a culture shock, but I definitely feel like we had a small conversation about your culture shock when you found out that one of your students was about to have a baby during their senior year. Do you remember?
Well, yes, I mean, that was,
Was it culture shock?
it wasn't culture shock.
Not like
No,
culture shock,
It
but
wasn't
like
culture shock. It was definitely shock. I mean, I went to public school and girls had babies while I was in school, and they still graduated, and people, 16-year-olds can have babies, and life goes on. And certainly knowing Namia, knowing her as this amazing, smart young person with her life ahead, that was upsetting to hear, and it was shocking to hear about. And then the other thing about it too is how her teachers were all taken into a room and told not to talk about it and not to just to kind of sort of pretend that this never happened. And I remember coming home and sitting at the dinner table and crying with David to say that this was happening, and just worrying that it was going to work out, and it has. And that's amazing. Yes, and wonderful.
This is just my own personal question that feel free to not answer if you don't want to, but I just want to know, like, what made you guys decide not to have kids?
I didn't want to get married.
True story.
Sassy.
We were undergrad, and we were in school. I think both of us had this mindset of we're going to go be artists, we're going to go to New York, we're going to make it, we're going to do whatever we can. And I was not interested, I went on a couple of dates with some girls and whatever, but I was not interested. And then I met Hillary. I couldn't even eat in front of her, first of all. And then, as you know, she's extremely talented, extremely intelligent, extremely honest.
Yes.
And I'm this goofy person that I still am today. I don't know why I lucked out, but
it's like the perfect balance.
And I remember, like, I think this is the one. I think I want to marry her. And we were just like, I don't even know where we were, like walking down the street or whatever, going to a movie, going wherever. And we were having this conversation, and it wasn't like I was prompting the conversation, but I said, we were talking about things, and she's like, oh, I don't even want to get married. I'm like, dang, I really want to be an artist.
To be an artist and just live in my studio or whatever, and just
that's what you just
be an artist. And then,
So
kids cost a lot of money.
No, seriously.
No. There wasn't a need to bring somebody else into this world, and
I don't feel empty, or I don't feel that I'm missing out by not having a child.
Which is good. Like, I'm glad that you guys are on the same page about that, because that's really what it's about when you find a partner. You just have to be on the same page.
we have to be honest.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of work and a lot of effort.
Relationship.
And that was hard for our at least our parent, my parent. It was hard. I mean, I was called selfish.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And like, you would be a great father, you would be a great mother. Well, yeah, we would. You're right, we would. We'd be freaking amazing. But
1000% agree.
we're happy with who we are and what our choices.
Now, let me tell y'all something. These are my old heads, so do not judge them for not knowing some of these words. My mom don't even know some of these words. She don't be knowing none of the slangs, and I thought my mom was hip, but she's not as hip as I thought. Okay, we're gonna start with something easy. Do you guys know what thought is? T-H-O-T.
Nope.
Never heard of it.
No. Yeah, use it in a sentence.
Okay. She's acting like a thought. Let me give you the original history. The original history of this word is, it was an acronym that stands for that hoe over there.
Oh, great. Yeah,
yes, it's in a lot of songs, and it then kind of translated into just meaning hoe. After a while, people just be like, she's a thought. Yeah, that's that word. Okay, real rap.
Like, really happened, like,
Real rap means like confirmed,
seriously,
like seriously. Yeah.
Yes,
but
like,
I want to use it in a sentence like,
I can't
confirmed, like
seriously, like that was like,
yeah, basically. Period.
Punctuation.
Like, end of it all. Just stop.
Like fact. Like
when I text and you say period.
No. Like your point, like in an argument, you say, I'm not going for that, period.
Okay.
It's like a sentence ender. And once you say period, it's no way
My
around
mother
it.
used to say that
And
to me.
discussion.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, look at you
That's
using
it.
slang. It was something that was like used commonly amongst like parents and stuff, and then we just stole it, and now it's like in city girl songs and stuff. Okay, lit. You said you know what lit is.
I think it means excited, right?
Kinda. Yeah, that's one definition.
Yeah, well, that's the bee's knees. How's that for old term? That's lit. That's off the hook. That's amazing.
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
like it can be translated as the bomb, popping, the
Bee's
best, the funnest,
Okay.
the drunkest. Oh,
Mm.
she was lit.
Oh,
See,
I
well,
thought that it was a
more
more like,
positive.
yeah, more positive.
It is. It's very positive. Like if somebody's saying, I mean, she had a really good time. Like it
It
was
was
great.
lit, or
It
like
was
the-
perfect. It was fun. It was fun. So look, 1 out of 12. I ain't bad. Doing the most. You doing the most. That's a sentence right there. You doing the most.
Doing the best
What
you
you
can,
got?
yeah, I don't know.
That's
Say
really
that
nice
too.
that y'all.
That's really,
No, it's not that.
that's so funny.
It's like you being
doing too
extra.
much.
You need to calm down. You're doing too much.
Oh, okay.
Say less.
Say less.
Say less.
I'm a literal thinker.
You are. It's very
Shut up.
obvious.
Stop talking. I don't know.
Okay. Oh, that's not bad. It's kind of close. Okay.
Yeah, I would say like we got the point. Stop. You know, you're saying too much. Like you're
It is
getting
kind of that.
You're
More like
it's too.
It's that way. Like you can use it that way, but it's also like say no more. Like I got you. I understand. It's like going to the store and grab me 2 hot dogs. Say less. Like I got you. But see, that wasn't bad. Joe. This is a Philly term. Definitely a Philly term.
J-O,
Joe. Like a person.
coffee.
Okay.
Like a good-looking guy you see on the street.
Good guesses. Joe means like hype. Like somebody be like you acting Joe, or that person is so Joe. It's like that person
caffeinated?
is so.
Is it coming from caffeine? Are we going back to coffee?
I guess you could say
That's good,
that.
girl.
You could say that because that person is usually doing
hype.
doing more than what they need to be doing in that setting or environment. Like if somebody's calling you Joe, it's usually not a good thing. They don't want you to be doing what you're doing.
Kind of annoying. over
Yeah,
the top.
annoying. Yeah, kind of like annoying is a good word. It's annoying. Yes. Corny. That's easy.
Yeah, me.
You are so far from corny. Actually, I'm lying. Mr. Siegel is like the funniest corny person I know, which is why we get along because I'm equally as corny.
Yeah.
Like I'm really corny, but I laugh hard at my jokes. So I know. Shid. S-H-I-D. You don't know what that means? It's not be like shit. You know what that means. Okay, go ahead.
I have no idea. I'm not even gonna take a guess at that.
It's like not even, honestly, it's so funny because it's like if you don't know these words, they do not even make sense to me. Like
More like a reaction, right?
it is
So,
a reaction.
like-
It is.
Yeah, so it's like, come on, like, please.
Yes, it is. That's exactly what it's like. Psh, like shit.
A little bit like
I thought this was a PG show.
then use the T.
It's definitely PG. Sorry, kids. And last word is Jawn. J-A-W-N.
That's a Philly term.
That is a Philly term.
I'm so.
You should know what Jawn is. Mr. Siegel even uses this word.
Recently, but
like-
that's only because I showed you my repertoire and what I know.
That was like
That
top
was
10.
it. That's it.
I have
Slang
no idea.
words.
Sleepy?
Mr. Siegel, you want a shot at this? It's like very versatile, actually.
I think it's like a fill-in word, like things or that or whatever. It's like, you know, this stuff, like this genre's.
Yes, so it has that.
Right?
That yes, that's right. It's like a
this
thing.
could be genre.
Like this is a Jawn. This is a Jawn. Like that Jawn over there. Can you grab me that Jawn
I
right
only know
there?
that from Creed.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. Also, it also could be a female.
What?
Oh yeah, she
Okay.
is.
She a Jawn.
Jawn.
Like she's a good-looking female.
Oh, okay.
Not a bad. It's not a thought. Not a thought at all.
Okay, okay.
Do you guys have any questions for me?
We can visit us when we move to New Jersey.
Yes. What? Of course.
Well, I mean, I have a question for you. Like, what would you want teachers to focus on so that they can be better prepared at connecting with everybody, with the idea of meeting people where they are? What do you think you would like to say to teachers who you think missed an opportunity?
First, I would like to say your dog has like a really big tongue. I would say what a teacher can do to like make their students, I guess, feel important and to meet them where they are is to really just ask questions and pry. Like, I feel like your teachers, unfortunately, are your second parents, so they have a responsibility to know to know who you are and where you're coming from, and the only way to do that is to ask people questions. And I feel like a lot of teachers are either so busy with focusing on the curriculum or just uninterested that they don't ask questions. Like, if you notice, for example, that I wear my coat all the time, say, you know, you go ask, like, be like, are you cold? I notice you wear your coat a lot. Or if you notice that I come in with a bubbly personality all the time, and then one day I come in and I'm like down, don't just take that and be like, oh, she's probably going through something. Figure out what she's going through. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for being here. I'm just happy. That's all I can say. I'm happy. And please tune in next week. Like, share, subscribe. Send the link to your cousin, your grandmama, your auntie, all your friends and your family, because we need to get this information out to the masses. Please share. Please follow me on Instagram at Breaking PSYCHles. Follow me like me on Facebook. I don't know how that works, but listen, get the information out there.